The little girl's voice trembled as she tugged at his tailored coat, her small fingers leaving wet prints on the expensive fabric. "Sir, please." "My mom didn't come home last night." Marcus Chen froze mid-step, the warmth of the corporate lobby suddenly, feeling 1,000 miles away from the bitter cold outside. Through the glass doors, snow fell in thick, relentless sheets, turning the Chicago streets into a white wasteland. He should have kept walking. He had a board meeting in 20 minutes, investors waiting, millions of dollars hanging in the balance. But something in those wide, frightened eyes made him stop. Something that reminded him of a night 23, years ago when he'd been the one, standing in the snow, desperately hoping someone would care enough to help. The girl couldn't have been more than 7 years old. Her pink winter coat too thin for the brutal December storm. Her sneakers soaked through. Her dark hair clung to her tear-stained cheeks, and she clutched a crumpled piece of paper in her trembling hand. Marcus knelt down, his $1,000 suit touching the wet marble floor, meeting her at eye level. "What's your name, sweetheart?" His voice was gentler than the commanding tone he usually used in the boardroom. "Lily," she whispered, her breath coming in small, frightened gasps. "Lily Rodriguez. My mom works at the hospital. She's a nurse. She always comes home after her shift. But last night she didn't come. And my grandma's been calling everyone, and nobody knows where she is." The words tumbled out in a rush, each one edged with panic. Marcus's assistant, Jennifer, appeared at his shoulder, tablet in hand, her expression professionally concerned but slightly impatient. "Mr. Chen, the board is assembling. We really need to—" He held up a hand, silencing her. "Cancel it." "Sir, this is the merger meeting. If we don't—" "I said cancel it." Marcus turned back to Lily, taking the paper from her hand. It was a hospital ID badge, partially torn, with a photo of a young woman in scrubs, smiling warmly at the camera. Maria Rodriguez, RN. "Tell me everything, Lily, from the beginning." Through halting sentences and quiet sobs, the story emerged. Maria had left for her night shift at St. Catherine's Hospital 2 days ago. She'd called Lily's grandmother that evening to say goodnight to Lily, promising to bring home pancakes for breakfast. She never made it home. The hospital said she'd left her shift on time. Her car was found abandoned on Route 94, hazard lights still blinking, driver's door open, footprints leading into the surrounding woods before. The snow had covered them completely. The police had been called. They'd done a preliminary search, but with the storm intensifying and limited resources, they'd suspended operations until the weather cleared. Standard procedure, they'd said. She was probably just confused, wandered off, would turn up soon. But it had been 18 hours now, and the temperature had dropped to 11 degrees. 18 hours in the Chicago winter was a death sentence. "My grandma's too sick to go looking," Lily said, fresh tears spilling down her cheeks. "She has a bad heart. The police said they're doing everything they can, but I heard them tell Grandma they probably won't search again until tomorrow." "But Mom doesn't have until tomorrow, does she?" Those eyes, ancient with understanding too heavy for a 7-year-old, looked straight into Marcus's soul. He stood up, his jaw set with determination. Jennifer was already shaking her head. "Mr. Chen, you can't be serious. The storm is getting worse. The roads are barely passable. You have responsibilities here, people depending on you." "A woman is dying out there," Marcus said quietly. But his voice carried the weight of absolute certainty. "I have 4-wheel drive and time she doesn't have. That's all that matters right now." He looked at Jennifer, his expression softening slightly. "Reschedule everything. Tell the board something came up. Tell them the truth if you have to. And call St. Catherine's. Get me the exact location where they found her car." 15 minutes later, Marcus's Range Rover pushed through the snow-clogged streets. Lily buckled in the passenger seat. He'd tried to convince her to stay at the office with Jennifer, but she'd refused with a stubbornness that reminded him painfully of himself. "She's my mom," Lily had said simply. And that had been the end of the discussion. The drive that should have taken 20 minutes took over an hour. The highway was a nightmare of abandoned cars and zero visibility. Marcus's knuckles were white on the steering wheel, but he didn't slow down. He couldn't. Somewhere in his mind, the clock was ticking, counting down the minutes until Maria Rodriguez's body temperature dropped too low, until her heart stopped fighting, until Lily became a little girl whose mother didn't come home. They found the abandoned Honda Civic exactly where the police report had indicated, nearly buried under fresh snow. Marcus parked and grabbed the emergency supplies from his trunk: blankets, a first aid kit, flashlights, the survival gear he'd always kept, but never thought he'd need to use for something like this. He helped Lily into the heaviest coat he had, drowning her small frame, and they began to follow the faint depressions in the snow that might have been footprints once. Why would she leave her car? Lily asked, her voice muffled by the scarf wrapped around her face. Marcus had been wondering the same thing. Then he saw it, about 50 yards into the tree line. The twisted metal remains of a guardrail, the skid marks barely visible under the snow. A second car, a dark sedan, had gone through the barrier and down an embankment. She saw an accident, Marcus said, his respect for Maria Rodriguez growing with every step. She's a nurse. She couldn't just drive past. They found her at the bottom of the ravine, halfway down the steep slope, lying next to the wrecked sedan. She'd made a shelter of sorts using broken branches and the car's floor mats, and she'd wrapped her own coat around an unconscious man who'd been thrown from the vehicle. She was curled in a ball, her scrubs soaked through, her lips blue, her skin pale as the snow around her. But her eyes opened when Lily screamed, "Mom!" and tried to scramble down the slope. Marcus caught Lily, holding her back as he called 911, giving them the location with GPS coordinates. Then he made his way down carefully, heart hammering, terrified they were too late. When he reached Maria, she tried to smile, her voice a bare whisper. "My daughter. Is she safe?" "I'm here, Mom." "I'm here." Lily was crying, sliding down despite Marcus's attempts to stop her, throwing herself into her mother's arms. "Lily, no." Maria tried to push her away. "Too cold." "You'll get cold too." But Marcus was already there, wrapping them both in the emergency blankets, using his own body to shield them from the wind. He checked the man in the car, unconscious but breathing, pulse weak but steady. Maria had kept him alive at the cost of her own safety. "You saved him," Marcus said, looking at Maria with something close to awe. "Couldn't leave him," she whispered. "Tried to get help, got turned around in the storm." "So cold, so sorry, Lily, so sorry." "Don't be sorry," Marcus said firmly. "You're a hero. Both of you are going to be fine. You hear me? You're going to be fine." He meant it with every fiber of his being, and he stayed there holding them, keeping them warm with his own body heat, talking to them, keeping them conscious, until the rescue helicopters arrived and paramedics swarmed the ravine. At the hospital, 3 days later, Marcus sat in Maria's room while she sipped hot chocolate, and Lily colored pictures at the foot of the bed. The man from the car, a grandfather of 4 named Robert Hayes, was in stable condition down the hall. The media had gotten hold of the story. CEO abandons merger to save nurse. But Marcus had refused all interviews. "Why?" Maria asked him. "Why did you do it? You don't even know us." Marcus was quiet for a long moment, watching Lily's crayons move across the page. 23 years ago, my mother and I were homeless," he said finally. "We slept in shelters, in cars, anywhere we could. One winter night, she collapsed. I was terrified, alone, and a stranger stopped. A businessman in an expensive suit. He didn't have to help, but he did. He got her to a hospital, made sure she got treatment, even helped us get into transitional housing. He changed our lives." Marcus smiled slightly. "My mother always said kindness is the only currency that never loses value. I guess I finally had a chance to pay it forward." Maria's eyes filled with tears. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you for seeing us, for caring." Marcus shook his head. "Thank Lily. She was brave enough to ask for help. That takes more courage than anything I did." As he left the hospital that evening, snow falling gently now, beautiful rather than threatening, Marcus felt something he hadn't felt in years: peace. The merger had fallen through. The board was furious. His stock had taken a hit. But he'd gained something infinitely more valuable. He'd gained the knowledge that in a world that often felt cold and indifferent, humanity still mattered. Kindness still mattered. And sometimes the most important decision you'll ever make is the one to simply stop and help someone who needs you. His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Thank you for bringing my mom home. Love, Lily." Attached was a photo of Lily and Maria, both smiling, holding a sign that read, "Heroes help heroes." Marcus smiled, saving the picture, and walked into the night.